Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Always try to watch the engineers on the way to retirement. They have the best stories and the best processes to keep getting paid long after their useful work has ended. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Revenge from beyond the grave. Well, beyond retirement. This is not my story. This happened at work to one of the older guys who was just about to retire as I was just joining the company. We were intended to overlap only by a few months. Luckily for me, I worked with him for a couple of years. Background. I work for a company making test equipment, mostly in the avionics field. We made a test system for an old inertial navigation system. The IST, Inertial System Tester, basically moves the sensor through all three axes in precise order, speeds, and combinations, and verifies that it reads correctly. The test system was ancient, I mean really ancient, even for the 1980s. It had a magnetic core memory, front panel programming, paper tape loader, and a huge hard disk that was massive, over 18 inches, metal plate but held about 1 kilobyte. It was all blink-lighten, clicking and whizzy noises like a futuristic computer from 60s TV shows. Our hero, who we'll call Dave, was the only person in the company who knew how this thing really worked, and he had worked on it for decades. The Air Force was replacing the navigation system with a new one, and so the test systems would be scrapped. Dave had less than 2 years to go before retirement, and so he was on a bit of a shaky peg when the project ended. Dave was also a stereotypical engineer, very good at his job, low social skills, and brutally honest. He had made enemies, but because the company needed him for the IST, and he knew everyone who dealt with the system from our company to the various air bases and air forces and civilians who used the system, they tolerated his manner. Dave was often called out to bases around the world to help them diagnose a problem. He was very, very good at his job, and the Air Force respected him for it. Due to the imminent scrapping of the inertial guidance system, Dave was offered early retirement and took it. As the contract was in its dying days, the project store was emptied of stacks of fan-fold paper, paper tape, and other bits of useless rubbish. Due to his connections, Dave knew that the replacement system was delayed by a year, and so the IST service life was going to be extended. Dave knew this before the company did. Dave also knew that some component suppliers who were contracted to support the IST had stopped production and scrapped the old manufacturing kit. This meant that there would be a refurb contract coming to allow the IST to use modern discs to replace the obsolete dinner plate discs. Dave knew this, but Dave retired anyway. A few weeks later, a contract request came through requesting that we modify the system tester to use a more modern technology, 1.44 megabyte discs, and support the system for another year with options to renew the contract annually. As it was a simple add-on contract, it was agreed with little oversight. Then the panic set in. Nobody knew how to code the system. It was written in Fortran and a 1960s version at that, and also some machine code for an ancient processor that nobody had ever used. The majority of us had never seen the spider's web that was magnetic core memory. We didn't know where the source code had been archived, and we didn't have a paper tape punching machine. We eventually found a printout of the source code with some handwritten annotations and had no clue if it was the installed software version or not. Config Control Department did not give a damn about a 60s-era system that had remained unchanged for over a decade, and they didn't know much about it. But Dave knew, and Dave was waiting for the phone call to ask. Dave agreed to come back part-time as a contractor at a sphincter-puckeringly high hourly rate for the duration of the contract. The contract was extended another 6 months sometime after, taking Dave almost to his retirement date, but with a huge amount of money in his last 18 months. I like Dave. He taught me a lot. We eventually found an old tape punching machine in a local newspaper of all places. They used the tape to transfer the article text from the reporter's consoles to the compositing machine. Just for the geeks, we replaced the huge disk with a 1.44 megabyte disk, basically the same as an Amiga, and a single board computer, and some custom electronics, all to pretend that it was an ancient slow disk. Basically, we embedded a computer that was several orders of magnitude more powerful than the host system to pretend to be an ancient, slow mechanical drive in a system with a clock rate as slow as a heartbeat. Edit. To clarify on why the system was so out of date, since a lot of people are wondering why, this was a custom project designed to a specific set of requirements. The customer owned a lot of the IP and owned the rights so that we could not sell it without their specific approval. The only people who used it were the armed forces and some civilians that were approved by the customer. We were not permitted to make any changes. The customer operated on a "if it's not broken, then don't fix it" principle. On occasion, the customer would come back and ask for a modification, usually because a part was going obsolete, but the supply of critical parts were ensured by contracting the supply to maintain the supply or doing a lifetime buy of spares. As soon as the contract ended, the suppliers were desperate to dump the old tooling and generally refused a contract extension. Edit 2. We went through a lot of compulsory redundancies. The 80s in the UK was not a good time for employment. With the project coming to an end, we knew redundancies were coming. If you're 60 plus, you're generally offered early retirement, but if you refuse, you were made redundant. Technically, it's your choice, but you're out either way. Either you jump or we push you. Jumping makes them look better in terms of redundancy totals. If you're made redundant, you're generally not re-employed due to the risk of corporate revenge sabotage. If you retire, it's deemed to be on good terms and you can come back. For Dave, financially either was good, but choosing retirement allowed him the option of coming back, and Dave knew he was coming back. I would say that Dave had very high-honed social skills, at least in interpreting the way the wind was blowing and how to make the best of it. And our second story. I guess the grocery store employs dog trainers now? This was a while back, before COVID-19, when I worked at a pet retail chain as the lead dog trainer. Where I worked was a short walk to the grocery store, and I often would go there on my lunch break to grab something to eat. I got confused for an employee many times, but this one took the cake. Cast: me, Karen, K, Karen's 3 friends, KF. It was a pretty nice summer day, and I was feeling pretty great as I'd crushed it in dog training sales earlier that day and the sun was shining. I was still wearing my gray athletic shirt with huge white letters on the front and back that said dog trainer, as well as having a large blue bait bag, pouch for holding dog treats and other kit on my belt. I was kneeling, grabbing a box of plastic spoons when I heard K. K. Hey, excuse me, look at me. Me glances over and looks away, as I'm sure they mean someone else. Kay guffaws to her friends. No wonder these people don't make a living wage. I can't believe how rude employees are these days. Hey, you! Look at me when I'm talking to you. Me, taken aback by the gall of this woman, I stand up and turn around. Kay. Finally, you were in your own little world there, huh? Next time you need to ask a customer if they want any assistance before they have to try to get your attention. It's very incredibly rude. Turns to the gaggle of Karens behind her for butt pats and reassurance. We need you to get us X brand of bread and Y brand of ice cream. Oh, and show us where the chips are. We're in a hurry. Me. I'm sorry, I actually don't work here. But gesturing to an employee nearby, they do and can probably help you. I start turning to walk away. Kay. Excuse me. You're right here. You should help. Stop trying to make other people do your job. Now find our stuff before we get your manager. KF start exchanging looks and definitely notice my shirt. Me, ma'am, I don't work here. I'm on my break trying to grab a few things myself. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. K. Even if you're on break, you still need to help customers. That's your job. KF try to gently get her attention, whispering that they don't think the grocery store employs dog trainers. Kay completely ignores them and continues her tirade. I can't believe how disrespectful you are. You can't even do your job. I bet you didn't even graduate high school with this attitude. Me. Lady, for the last time, I do not work here. And if you'd try to read the 2 words on my shirt, you'd notice that it says I'm a dog trainer. Dealing with B words is my job, so unless you're going to start paying me, I have better things to do. I walk away and overhear Karen's friends trying to calm her down and also holding back laughs because they tried to warn her. I finished grabbing my items and hightailed it back to work. Never saw that Karen again. May I also suggest the dogs I train have better manners and intelligence than you have? And our last story. My HOA is blocking the installation of solar panels. So the story goes, my husband and I bought a house with an HOA in June 2019. In August 2019, we signed a contract with a solar company to redo our roof and put on solar panels. Fast forward a couple of months, solar company tells us that since we're in an HOA and show up as a condo, we're a standalone house, but there are condos around us, we need to get a certification of ownership for our roof in order to proceed. So we asked the HOA for one. During this time, we'd fallen behind on dues because my husband lost his job, so we couldn't afford it. Last week, we sent them a check with a complete overdue balance and extra. I've emailed them 4 times over the course of this week and a half, asking if they've received the check and to ask for the certification. The roof is so bad, our home insurance company canceled our insurance. The solar company has given us until Friday, January 31st to get the certification, or our whole contract is canceled. Not only would this sink my credit lower than it already is, a lot of things were in my name since my credit was best, and during the period of unemployment, my credit's gone down hundreds of points, but we'd be screwed for our homeowner's insurance and lose the amazing deal we got in our contract. I have received absolutely no response from the HOA by mail or email, and their telephone number, listed on the BBB website, not their own, is disconnected. Edit for clarity. We're not broke anymore, our rough patch is over, thankfully, which is how we were able to catch up our dues and are proceeding with our contract. I've called the consultant from the solar company and she's helping us figure it out. I'll be getting a lawyer if there's no response by Friday. Edit 2. The solar panel company is replacing the roof in addition to adding panels. Edit 3. I checked the regulations for my state as suggested and discovered that they cannot deny me from installing solar on my roof. I'll bring this all to the lawyer. I'm beginning to think I should just get one now instead of waiting and see what happens. Edit 4. We finally found something that says the HOA is not in charge of roof maintenance, therefore we can fix our roof without them being able to retaliate. But I think I'll get a lawyer just in case. What a roller coaster. Glad you seem to have it figured out, and glad your rough patch is over. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.